Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Niger Canada Girl. Now, if this is your first time of watching, welcome to my page. What took you so long? And I always like to put a disclaimer out there. I'm not an immigration consultant and I do not work for the Canadian government. I just share my experiences and also share experiences of friends, okay, to help you with your Canada journey, also if you're in the immigration process. Now that is out of the way, I'll be talking about proof of funds today. So I've had a lot of questions around proof of funds come to my YouTube comments, to Instagram, people asking me, oh, can you make a video about proof of funds? And I thought, so why not? It's actually very important, okay? So I'm going to let you know everything you need to know about proof of funds, but you should also know that this information I am giving you is accurate as at the date today where I'm sharing this information, because these things change, okay? So it's not cast in stone and it can change at any time. And also, I always advise people, don't take my word for it. You need to also do your research. There is not one place, where you can just get all the information you need. You need to constantly research, especially if you're in this process, okay? Great. So now, like I said, I'll be discussing proof of funds. So by the end of this video, you would have a better understanding of what proof of funds is, what it isn't, and how exactly you can bring your proof of funds to Canada if you'd be coming here, okay? So let's actually start from the most asked question that I've had recently. What is proof of funds? So if you're in the Canadian express entry process, like the name implies, proof of funds just basically means proof that you have the funds required to come to Canada as a permanent resident. So the idea behind it is that they just want to be sure that you can take care of yourself when you get here and you're not going to be a burden when you get here. Because quite honestly, you get to Canada, you land, what do? You have no one here. Of course, you'd have to rent a hotel or a more affordable option like Airbnb for a while. You need to feed, you need to move around. And so they need to know that until you settle properly into the system, you have these funds and you're able to fend for yourself, okay? Now, so how much exactly are we talking about? So there isn't one particular amount. So what it is it's based on family size. So if you're coming as a single person, there's a different amount from someone who is probably coming with a family of 4, okay? So I'll start with the figures. So if you're coming for one person right now, it's 12,475 Canadian dollars. This is how much you need to prove to the Canadian government that you have. If you're a family of 2, it's 15,531 Canadian dollars. And if you're a family of 3, is 19,093 Canadian dollars. So how they get these figures is they keep adding 3,361 Canadian dollars for every additional family member. So you can keep adding that figure, and that would help you determine what your family size is. So family of 4, for instance, is 23,181 Canadian dollars. Did you get the idea? Great. So basically, you need to prove that you have this amount of money before you come to Canada. And the next question will be, how can you prove it? Like, in what ways? What are the things that are accepted as proof of funds? So you need to show them that you've had this amount over 6 months prior to applying. So what they actually require is that you show a bank statement showing that you have this amount, but your bank is not going to give you, because of privacy reasons, your bank will not give you a statement, to the Canadian government or to anyone saying this is how much you've had and you've had it from this period to this period. So your best bet is always to print out your account statement, which is what most people do. So they need to know that over 6 months you've had this amount of money. So one of the best ways, or the best method of showing your proof of funds is by printing out your bank statement over 6 months. And during the 6 months, they must see that you've accumulated this money. So one thing that is not accepted, or you might need to explain very well because you might be at the risk of losing your application, is if sudden funds just surge into your account. So I'm in the process, I'm applying, and I need this proof of funds and I don't have it. Oh, I have this rich friend who might have it to borrow me, and then the person puts some money in your account. you need to explain why that chunk of money is coming into your account. Okay, so it needs to be a progressive, believable 6-month period that you've had the money in your account. So this is one way. And if you are married, you have a spouse, so it can be a joint account in you and your spouse's name. So this is also accepted, that you can show this account statement over 6 months that meets the required amount that is your own proof of funds. Okay, so something that is not accepted, however, if you have a joint account with someone, so say for instance it's a business account and the account name is with someone else, you actually can't use that. So it has to be the account has to be yours or your spouse's. You both should be relocating to Canada as well. So this is how using the bank system works. So if you're going to be showing them your proof of funds through what you have in your bank, your current bank account, that is how you go about it. So also you'll be needed to also get a letter from your bank, just certifying that you've had this account for XYZ period of time and you're not in debt. So it's called a letter of non indebtedness, to show that you didn't take some loan some time ago and you're owing the bank and all of that. That would also be required. Okay, so another way you can prove your funds to the Canadian government is through investment. So what kind of investments do I need? I'm talking about things like treasury bills. So just put it this way, any fund that can easily be liquidated, assets that can be liquidated in form of treasury bills is accepted. So what I mean is, for instance, I use treasury bills because my money was saved in treasury bills. So during my process, even though I also put my account statement, that wasn't necessary, but I had the amount of money they required invested in treasury bills. And this investment was for a long period. So as a matter of fact, as when I landed, this money was still in treasury bills. So this was my proof of funds. So this is an accepted proof of fund as well. Now I'll let you know what proof of funds are not accepted. You have a really fancy car and even if you sell the car, you get 10 times the money needed for the proof of funds. Unfortunately, this is not accepted. So you have to so assets, liabilities like cars and all that, if anything that can't be easily liquidated into cash, is not accepted. So land valuations, jewelry valuations cannot be accepted. What you can, however, do is, if you have these things and you feel you want to sell them and use them as your proof of funds, there's something called LOE, letter of explanation, during your application. So they give you a chance to explain anything that might need to be double checked or anything that is not clear. And also, these papers need to be uploaded along your proof of funds. So say you have this great land and you sold it and made some money from it, and you'd want to use that money to come to Canada. Obviously, it's going to be a huge payment coming into your account. So you're going to need documentation to back this up, that this was your land, this is what it was worth, this is when it was sold. And then, so if you're saying this is my proof of fund, those papers will back it up. Same thing applies to jewelry and cars and all that. But the valuation itself alone cannot pass as proof of funds. So now it is clear what proof of funds is and what proof of funds isn't. So another question I'm usually asked is also, how long do I have to have my proof of funds? Can I borrow the money and after the process just return it? Unfortunately, not only is this defrauding the Canadian government, you are actually going to be disqualified on the grounds of misrepresentation if they find out that this money is not yours. So for instance, you borrow $10,000 from Mr. A. He puts the money in your account. You submit your application. Everything is all well and good. And then for some reason, they have a hunch that this money just doesn't seem to add up. This is what this person's account statement had said, and all of a sudden this money surged in. Guess what? They would ask you just really close to when you're supposed to be getting your application to send your bank account statement again. And guess what would happen if they see that that money has left your account? It's going to be proof that the money wasn't yours. So you really want to be safe. Borrowing money for this process is not advisable, because at different times, even up until when you land at the airport, just based on a hunch. They could just be like, can we see your proof of funds? And you'd be like, oh, but I already sent it during my application. Yeah, but we want to see it again. Okay, so you really need to be sure that your proof of funds is intact. You're not depleting from it until you finally land Canada. Is this clear? Great. So another question I'm usually asked is, how exactly can you bring your proof of funds to Canada? So I have this 12,000 something dollars in my account. Am I actually supposed to have everything with me and show it to them upon landing? No, you do not. As long as you still have your account statement, a recent account statement. So say for instance, you'll be landing 1st of October. Get an account statement maybe in the last month of September, or the last week of September, showing that that money is still there. So upon landing, they could ask you for your proof of funds at the airport. You can be like, oh, I'm traveling with just say $3,000 because I don't want to travel with a lot of cash. But here is my statement showing that I still have this money available in my account. Here is my treasury bills showing that my treasury bills is still active and doesn't expire till like 3 or 4 weeks later. So that is acceptable at the airport. Alternatively, if you want to bring cash, I mean, a lot of people I know came with cash. That's fine. You can either get exchange on the black market at good rate, or you can get from your bank. Or I mean, you can just also leave it in your account, and when you come here, there are also bureaus where you can change your money. Okay, so there are many ways through which you can bring your proof of funds to Canada. But what is most important is having the proof of funds, because face it, come to think about it, you actually do need this proof of funds. You might think, oh, when I get there, I'll sort it out somehow, but things here are expensive. If you live in Toronto, for instance, on an average, you'll be paying rent of not less than, if you find rent of $500 a month, that's a blessing. That is rare. Okay, so based on where you live, you actually need to pay. You have running bills. So one thing I have noticed the big difference between Nigeria and Canada is the bills are there. Your phone contracts, like right now I pay about $50 every month for my, not the phone contract, just the line, having data and being able to have a number of people call me, I call them. So this is a monthly bill. I don't have a car yet, so I take the TTC. TTC is the public transport here. Not so public, it's actually very nice. So I take the TTC every day. I have to buy a monthly bus pass of $146. Are you seeing this? So you actually have bills you pay monthly. So this proof of funds is necessary. So it's not really about being able to trick the government and come here and sort it out. A lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, when they land here, unfortunately, they don't have hosts or people they could stay with for a while. Guess what? They have to go stay in an Airbnb. I know someone who stayed in an Airbnb for 2 months, and of course they were paying with money. Okay, so this is where your proof of funds come in. So as much as possible, you need to try to show that you have this money, and try to avoid being banned from, because they can actually ban you from coming into Canada based on misrepresentation. What is misrepresentation? When you provide information that is not accurate, that is false, that is misleading. So if, for instance, they discover that the money in your account was borrowed, not only can your application get denied, you can also get banned for misrepresentation. If throughout the application process you get your visa, all is well and good, you get to the airport and they're like, can we see your proof of funds? This doesn't happen to everyone, but I know at least 3 people it's happened to. So it could happen to anyone. And they just feel a hunch to double check. And they say, oh, please, can we see your proof of funds? And you go, I don't have it here, I already showed it then. They have the right there and then to turn you back to your country and cancel your application altogether. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to recap everything I've said. Proof of funds is just proof that you have funds to settle down and live here in Canada. Well, not live forever, but at least until you get a job and you're able to have some source of income, you're able to sustain yourself and your family. So they need to be sure that you have proof of this fund. So that is basically what proof of funds is. And proof of funds varies as per family size, like I mentioned earlier. So you also need to do a little more research, find out if for any reason the amount changes. I'm going to put a link in my description box to the CIC website. CIC is where you can find everything about the Canadian immigration. It's the official site for immigration of the Canadian government. So where you can read more about proof of funds. Like I said, you need to constantly keep researching. Don't take my word for it. Okay, and I also mentioned what proof of funds is. So money in your account, things like treasury bills. What proof of funds isn't: valuation of land, valuation of jewelry, valuation of car, property. All that is not proof of funds. Okay, however, there's one more thing I need to touch. When exactly is proof of funds not needed? Because yes, there are actually instances where you don't need a proof of funds. This is very rare, but when exactly? So this is when you already have a job offer here. So it's not enough to tell them I have a job offer. That's organization hiring you must fill something called a labor impact assessment form. So this shows the Canadian government, this is the company telling the Canadian government, hey, back off, we're hiring this guy, and this is how much we'll be paying him. And the amount you earn must be able to meet the requirements. Okay, so there's a certain, you read everything there on their page, there's a certain amount of money it has to be, it has to not be below. Okay, so if you have this sort of, so say for instance, you work in a multinational and they're assuring that, oh, you know what, we're sending this guy to Canada, then you don't need a proof of fund. Okay, we're sending this guy to go work in Canada and you go through the permanent residency process, then you don't need a proof of funds. Okay, but this is the 10% of the 100% of the cases. Okay, so that's a different topic for another day. Okay, but yes, proof of funds is proof that you have funds to relocate to Canada. It should be your money. It should be shown over the period of time until you learn that you have that money. Okay, don't borrow it from a friend and return it, and then they ask you to prove, you know, somewhere along the line they tell you, oh, send us that statement again, we just really need to double check that it's yours. And you could be, not only could your application be could your application be denied, you could actually be denied entry into Canada for a number of years or forever. Okay, so that is all about proof of funds. I hope this was helpful. Like I always say, please, you need to research a lot. There's a lot of information online, thankfully. Okay, so as you go through your week, oh well, it's actually weekend here right now. As you go through your weekend, enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you're in the process, don't give up, keep trying. If you're still writing the outs, keep writing, keep studying for your outs. If you've written it once and it didn't turn out great, well, don't give up. I wrote mine twice. Okay, if you're looking to build your proof of funds, yes, you can use treasury bills. Oh, and something important I also didn't state is you can also have someone sponsor you. So what do I mean by sponsor you? So you're coming to Canada, you do not have the proof of funds, but your dad has it, your uncle has it, and they are willing to give you that money and let you know, oh, hey, you know what, you've been a good child and we would like to see you grow and achieve your dreams. So here, take the money you need. So in this case, you need to show that the money was transferred from this person's account to your account. A statement must show this. And then the person must fill something called a gift deed. So what is a gift deed? A gift deed, just like the name implies, is a gift. So the person is swearing an affidavit signed by a notary, signed and stamped by a notary officer, saying that this is my daughter and I am giving her this money. Okay, and hence that money should still stay in your account. It should be yours, in fact, until you land, because they might ask for it upon landing. So if you have a family member who's willing to gift you, and please don't make the relationship too unexplainable. A father is explainable, a mother is explainable, a sibling is explainable, an uncle is explainable. But once it becomes fishy, you really don't want them questioning these sort of things. Okay, so yes, this is basically all you need to know about proof of funds. So thank you so much for watching. If you've not yet subscribed, just hit the subscribe button. Feel free to ask me questions in my comment section and I will answer as soon as I can. Thank you. Bye.